The Rottweiler that waited. A story of endless devotion. Introduction. A testament to loyalty. In a small, unassuming town, there lived a Rottweiler named Bruno whose story would inspire generations. Bruno wasn't just a dog. He was a symbol of devotion, a living testament to the bond between humans and their canine companions. Much like the famous tale of Hachiko, Bruno's unwavering loyalty touched the hearts of everyone who heard it. This is his story, a story of love, loss, and a steadfast heart that never gave up hope. Chapter 1. A Special Bond. Bruno belonged to Mark, a retired schoolteacher who had recently moved to the town after losing his wife. Mark wasn't looking for a dog when he stumbled upon Bruno at a local shelter. But fate had other plans. Bruno, with his large frame, shiny black and tan coat, and soulful brown eyes, had been abandoned as a puppy. The connection between them was instant. Mark, who had been struggling with loneliness, found solace in Bruno's gentle presence. Bruno, in turn, thrived under Mark's care, relishing the companionship and love that had been missing in his early years. Together, they settled into a routine: long walks in the morning, quiet afternoons by the fireplace, and evenings spent in the garden. Bruno was no ordinary dog. He had a quiet intelligence, a sense of knowing when Mark needed him most. If Mark was lost in thought, Bruno would gently rest his head on his lap. If Mark was laughing, Bruno's tail would wag furiously, as though sharing in the joy. It was a bond built on trust, love, and understanding, a bond that would be tested in ways no one could foresee. Chapter 2. The day everything changed. Mark had a daily routine of walking to the local cafe for his morning coffee. Bruno would accompany him part of the way, stopping at the entrance to the town square. Mark had trained Bruno to wait there. As dogs weren't allowed inside the cafe, Bruno would sit patiently, watching people pass by, his eyes never straying far from the cafe door. One fateful morning, as Mark sipped his coffee and chatted with a friend, tragedy struck. Mark suffered a sudden heart attack. Despite the best efforts of those around him, Mark passed away before help could arrive. News of his death spread quickly through the small town. But Bruno, sitting faithfully in his usual spot, didn't understand. He waited for hours, his eyes fixed on the cafe door, expecting Mark to emerge as he always did. When evening came, a concerned neighbor tried to coax Bruno home, but he refused to budge. The Rottweiler's loyalty was unwavering. He stayed in the square, waiting for his beloved owner. Chapter 3. The Long Wait. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but Bruno remained steadfast. Rain, snow, or shine, he could be found in the same spot, his large frame a comforting presence for the townspeople who had grown to love him. The local cafe owner began leaving out bowls of water and food for Bruno. Passers-by would stop to pet him or offer him treats. But Bruno's focus never wavered. His eyes stayed fixed on the door of the cafe, as though he believed that, any moment, Mark would return. The story of Bruno's devotion spread beyond the town. Journalists came to document the extraordinary loyalty of the Rottweiler, who refused to abandon his post. Social media lit up with photos of Bruno sitting in the square, his proud, stoic posture a stark contrast to the deep sadness in his eyes. Chapter 4. The Impact on the Community. Bruno's unwavering loyalty touched everyone who met him. For the townspeople, he became a symbol of love and devotion in its purest form. Families would bring their children to see Bruno and tell them stories about the bond he shared with Mark. Inspired by Bruno's story, the town rallied together to ensure his safety and comfort. A group of volunteers built a small shelter near the square, giving him a place to rest during harsh weather. Local businesses contributed food and medical care for Bruno, ensuring he had everything he needed. Bruno, in return, brought the community closer. People who had never spoken before would gather near the cafe to check on him, sharing stories of their own pets and their experiences with loyalty and love. Bruno's quiet vigil became a source of unity and reflection for all. Chapter 5. A Love That Endures. Bruno waited for 5 long years. His body aged, his once glossy coat graying around the muzzle, but his spirit remained unbroken. One winter morning, Bruno didn't come to the square. Concerned, the townspeople searched for him and found him lying peacefully in the small shelter they had built for him. He had passed away in his sleep. The entire town mourned the loss of their beloved Bruno. To honor him, they erected a statue in the square where he had kept his vigil. The statue depicted Bruno in his signature pose, sitting proudly, his eyes fixed on the cafe door. Beneath it was a plaque that read, "In memory of Bruno, the Rottweiler whose loyalty and love showed us the true meaning of devotion." Chapter 6. A Legacy of Loyalty. Bruno's story didn't end with his passing. The statue became a symbol of hope and love, drawing visitors from far and wide. People came to pay their respects, leaving flowers and notes thanking Bruno for reminding the world of the power of unconditional love. The shelter where Bruno had been adopted saw a surge in adoptions, as people, inspired by his story, sought to experience the kind of bond he had with Mark. Bruno's legacy lived on in the lives of countless animals who found loving homes because of him. Conclusion. Lessons from Bruno. Bruno's story is more than a tale of loyalty. It's a reminder of the enduring power of love. His steadfast devotion, even in the face of loss, touched hearts around the world. In a time when connections often feel fleeting, Bruno showed us that true love never wavers, never fades, it simply waits. For those who had the privilege of knowing Bruno, and for those who hear his story, he remains a beacon of hope and a reminder that love, in its purest form, is eternal. Thank you for watching Bruno's inspiring story. If you were touched by his unwavering loyalty, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Dog Discoveries with Florence for more heartwarming tales of canine devotion. Let Bruno's legacy remind us of the power of unconditional love.